Hey there, welcome to Story Time. It's me, Josh. Right now we're going to be reading Little Miss Chatterbox by Roger Hargreaves from the Little Miss Library. Yet again, we've read through so many amazing stories so far, and I'm looking forward to finding out what Little Miss Chatterbox is about. Are you? Yeah? Alright, awesome. Well, if you like this channel, please subscribe, click that bell below, and you can visit the page and read stories whenever you like. Get comfortable, get ready wherever you are, because we're about to delve into story time. That's right. Little Miss Chatterbox talked more than a lot. She talked all the time. Day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year in and year out. She never stopped. But she didn't know it. But she even talked in her sleep. You can see her chatting away there. Wonder whether it's singing, talking, probably both, eh? Yeah. She had a brother. I bet you can guess what his name was. Can't you? That's right. Mr. Chatterbox. She looks a bit like him. Don't you think? Yeah, they look very similar. You should have heard them when they got together. You couldn't get a word in edgeways, or sideways, or anyways. That makes sense. It would just be like, bap, 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 when they meet up, eh? Chat, chat, chat. Have you ever heard about somebody being able to talk the hind leg off a donkey? Well, Mr. Chatterbox could talk both hind legs off a donkey, and his sister could talk the hind leg off an elephant. Now, this story is about the time Little Miss Chatterbox decided to get herself a job in a bank in Happy Land. At 10 o'clock one Monday morning, Mr. Happy strolled into the Happy to Lend You Bank in the middle of Happy Town. He took his checkbook, wrote a check, and went to the counter. Behind the counter, on her first morning at work, stood Little Miss Chatterbox. She smiled at Mr. Happy. Mr. Happy smiled back. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "Well," said Little Miss Chatterbox, taking a deep breath. That's Mr. Happy walking into the bank. "For the time of year, it is a good morning, but not quite as good as the morning we had yesterday, and I dare say tomorrow morning will be an even better morning, but it's quite a good morning for Monday morning, and..." Oh, I got there. I almost stuffed it up, though. And she went on and on and on until it was time for the bank to shut. Mr. Happy was still standing there with his mouth open in amazement. He'd been there for hours. You see what time it is on the clock there? It's about 5 minutes to 3. So it's been there for a long, long, long time. "And now," continued Little Miss Chatterbox, "it's time for the bank to shut and time for me to go home, so goodbye and nice talking to you." And she went home, leaving poor Mr. Happy without any money. At least she's happy there. She's like, bye. All done and done. The following morning she was fired. Uh-oh. She got herself another job in a restaurant, the Eat-A-Lot. It was Tuesday morning at midday, and at midday Mr. Greedy walked into the restaurant and sat himself down at his usual corner table. He always ate there on Tuesdays because that was the day they served extra large portions. Typical Mr. Greedy. He's like, extra large portions. The waitress came up to take his order. "What's the soup of the day?" Mr. Greedy asked the waitress. Who do you think the waitress is, everyone? Yep, Little Miss Chatterbox. "Well," said Little Miss Chatterbox, for she was the waitress. There you go. "The soup of the day is tomato, but we also have other soups on the menu, such as oxtail and vegetable and chicken noodle, but we have lots of other things to start with, such as..." And she went on and on and on until midnight. Mr. Greedy was still sitting there, listening in amazement. He'd been there for 12 hours, listening. It's Miss Chatterbox chatting away, giving the full insight into everything. "And now," continued Little Miss Chatterbox, "it's time for the Eat-A-Lot restaurant to shut and time for me to go home, so goodbye and nice talking to you." And she went home, leaving poor Mr. Greedy feeling rather empty. He's like, "Oh, but my big greedy belly, I want food." Ooh. The next morning she was fired. The same thing happened all week long. On Thursday morning, she was fired from her job as an assistant in a hat shop. Miss Splendid went into the shop to buy herself a new hat, but she couldn't. "Oh, madam, I've just the hat for you, and I know you're going to love it because it's pink, and it's pink is your colour, and it..." And it was all talk and no hat. There's Miss Splendid strolling through the door, or out the door, one or the other. On Friday morning, she was fired from her job as a secretary to Mr. Uppity. Mr. Uppity, incidentally, was the richest man in the world. I just thought you'd like to know. But poor Mr. Uppity didn't make any money that day. Little Miss Chatterbox was working for him. Oh no. "Oh, Mr. Uppity, I've never worked in an office before, and isn't it exciting, and would you like a cup of coffee, and are you as rich as everybody says you are?" And it was all talk and no work. But this story has a happy ending because at the very end of that week, little Miss Chatterbox managed to find herself a job that suited her down to the ground and up to the sky. Look at that little smile. Like, ooh yeah. That Sunday evening, Mr. Chatterbox was at home in Chatterbox Cottage, which is where he lived. Mr. Chatterbox was cross because his watch had stopped, and he had arranged to meet little Miss Sunshine at 7 o'clock, and he had no idea what the time was. So he decided to telephone the speaking clock to find out what time it was. He dialed the number. At the third stroke, it will be 6:25 and 15 seconds. Little Miss Chatterbox took a deep breath. Pip, pip, pip. At the third stroke, it will be 6:25 and 20 seconds. Pip, pip, pip. That's funny, thought Mr. Chatterbox to himself. That sounds just like my sister. Wow. So she got a job telling the time on the phone, it seems. So she can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk forever, because time is endless, always going. That was fun. Thanks so much for reading the story with me today. I hope you like Little Miss Chatterbox. Don't you worry, I'll be back with another story very, very, very soon. Plenty more Little Miss stories to go as well. If you like these, please subscribe. Click that bell below. Bye for now, but definitely not forever.